Okay, here I am again, and I'm hoping that this broadcast is going to go through clean. And this live thing is kind of edgy. It's kind of hard to have the security of knowing that everything's going to go well. But regardless, I'm here and I'm back, and I have someone with me from the UK. I have an athlete that I've interacted with over the years. I think it's been years. And I invited her to come on with me. It turns out she's got a lot of insight and a lot of things to share with us. We're going to discuss everything to do with running and the importance of having good skills as a runner when you get into almost any sport. And specifically for this conversation, we're going to be discussing Hyrox. And with no further ado, I am going to bring her on. Bang, there she is. Say hello, Debbie.
Hey, guys. I'm here. This is me.
Yeah, she's been telling me that she's been on television a million times, and she goes live on these type broadcasts all the time. So Debbie, you reside in the UK. Whereabouts?
Okay, so I live North London.
North London.
Yeah. Originally a Manchester girl, where the Hyrox is taking place tomorrow. Actually, I think it's quite a lot of people going there. So yeah, in London.
Okay, now speaking of which, you've competed. You shared it with me. As a matter of fact, I have a note here somewhere. You've done 11 races. You've raced in the UK, Germany, USA, and Spain. Mixed doubles, ladies open. Qualified for Worlds twice, attended one in the UK, and so you're pretty well seasoned when it comes to Hyrox competitions. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I'm definitely comfortable with an understanding of what the race is all about and the race demands, and how different every race can be at every venue, and how different the races are depending on how you choose to race it, with someone, alone. Yeah, I think so.
So now that you've been in it, you're a warrior. You participated in the fight. My question might be, where do you find the most challenge for you?
Okay, so I would say that the first few Hyroxes that I ran in, I would probably get a third of the way through, and I just want to call it a day. It's hard. It's hard out there. And it's hard because you want to do the best that you can. You spent months training. You've trained every different energy system and every different technique to create a strong, powerful, resilient, bulletproof body. So when you get out there and then you're just a little way through this journey of darkness, you want to stop. You want to call it in, because you're exposed to so many different elements that you can't be prepared for in the training, that you've got to overcome a new hurdle you've never seen before. And that's the one, to dig deep and overcome the challenge that you've got more than 50% of the race to go. Yeah, and that's the biggest hurdle for me.
Well, but
every race now.
So that's kind of global. But I mean, in training, we know that there's 8 1-kilometer runs, or in racing, I should say, and then there's 8 exercises. So you're visiting these 8 exercises once, and you're visiting the run 8 times. Now, I have clients that I coach for this. As a matter of fact, I'll be in D.C., Washington, D.C., for the North American Championships here in March. And it's not like me to show up at these events, but I've been badgered into showing up, and I have some clients that are racing, so I'm going to attend. But where I'm going with this is that the clients I work with, I mean, I know the training protocols I put them through to prepare for these races. And what I try to do with them is ferret out those things that seem insurmountable. It's the things that are breaking you down in the race. Now, for a lot, I should say, the burpee broad jumps are a big deal. And getting the run together after the lunge walk is a big deal.
Yeah.
So where do you find the most amount of grief for you?
I think more on a respiratory side rather than a muscular body demanding. So for me, well, actually, I think the ski I've got to be very careful with, because to actually come back after the ski, I've got to take it in my stride. So really, just take that one quite easy, because you've got the whole elements of the start of the race, the excitement and the adrenaline, and the heart rate is raising. So I guess the ski I've got to go quite easy with. And I guess the wall balls, because you're coming to the end, and I guess for me, my heart rate's racing high. So many things are happening at that point. Um, yeah.
So let me ask you this: in all of that, in your discovery while you're training, while you're racing, what strategy have you lent yourself towards that has made the greatest amount of difference for you?
Okay. There's quite a few things. I think one important factor of the entire race for me was the start line. The start line can be a determining factor on how successful your race is going to be. You have 10 minutes to get in that pen. Do you need that 10 minutes to hang around that area? It can be emotionally draining, and it can cost a lot of money that you're going to lose out there in your performance. So, you've got to have a strategy for how you're going to enter that and watch the clock go down. That's what I've learned. So, what I've tried to do is get myself to as many races as possible out of the Hyrox scene and get comfortable with being on the start line. Go and race anywhere where you don't even know anybody. Just go and get to the start line and get comfortable with being at the start line.
Okay, it's fair enough. What I try to do with the people I train, my mantra is chance favors a prepared mind and body.
Right.
So when you are nervous and you're concerned and is it going to go well? Is it going to go bad? You have all this anxiety. Um, I believe that if your training goes as it should, the race itself is the easiest part. You should know
Yeah.
you should know almost to the minute how it's going to shake out when you show up.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that there's a lot left to chance. People, I find that, I'm not trying to be critical of common coaches and athletes, but just my observation is that I see a lot of work being done. I see people doing a tremendous amount of work, and in many cases, way more work than they should be doing. And some
Yeah,
of the
there's
work,
so much overtraining.
yeah,
So
and
much
some of the work that
overtraining
they're
going on.
doing has little bearing on the race itself.
Yeah.
It may make them stronger in some regards, and even more resistant to fatigue in some regards, but not necessarily applicable to the outcome of the race. And
Yeah.
so I have people shave off all that extra work and just focus on the things that are going to pay the rent, is what I tell them. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's, that's the case in any sport. I mean, I did the same thing with obstacle course racing. I did the same thing with triathletes. I go back a long way with the work I do. And to me, the challenges, you lay the challenges out, you identify the enemy in the work, and then you set about trying to, chip it up and just try to find a way to get through it the best way you can. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but what I kind of alluded towards in the promo for this thing is the influence that running has over the event itself. And I kind of already threw it out there to you that, the run's going to happen 8 times. And each of these events, once you pass, or each of these exercises, once you pass them, they're out of your hair. You don't have to concern yourself with them again, right? Where the running, you have to
Very true.
concern yourself with it every time you do an exercise. And
Yeah.
there is no better place, in my opinion, to lose time or gain time in the race than during the run.
Yeah.
Not only your ability to maintain a better pace, but the strategy in which you approach that pace and the result that's going to come after you've applied yourself to whatever exercise that was in line. So, as you suggested, you had to be careful when you hit the skier. Coming off the skier too hard, your run suffers. And
Correct.
yeah, so you've lost time on the run, then you got to go back and try to make it up in the next exercise, and then you're commonly running with the devil. This is what happens often. And it may not be, the nemesis might not be that particular exercise. It could be, like I said, for everybody, it's a little different. What I found interesting is I like trial and error. So we do sim work. I like to do a full blown sim every second week. So we have a week leading up to an actual event in training, and then we have a week to try to solve the problems we face in that simulation. And so we do that over and over and over again leading up to the event. And so when I find that the same culprit comes up over and over again in training, I'm going to beat that culprit down. And then eventually, when I start to notice that in the next simulation is no longer as large a problem as it was before, then we start looking for the next culprit. So we start
Yeah.
picking
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things off one at a time. But the basis of all of this comes down to how efficiently you can manage your energy output during the run.
Yeah.
And I'm getting way ahead of myself. And by the way, I don't know. Looks like there's a few people. If you're interested in commenting, you're welcome to do it. You don't have to just listen like a bump on a log. You can't see it, but I can. So if you have questions, comments, don't be afraid to shoot them out. I just want to make sure this is working. Add a comment. All right. So looks like it's all working as it should. Um, anyway, where I was going with this is that the headliner for this particular episode is how running influences the race at large, or commonly races. And getting back to what we discussed before we got live is the importance of running mechanics, the importance of honing your skill to be a good runner before you're concerned with how hard you can push your body in the run or how much duration you can maintain in a run. The volume and the intensity are secondary to your ability to perform well, in my opinion. I posted a thing the other day from a video of a clinic I did. Geez, it's been 8 years ago, and I think it was in Dallas, Texas. And in
I
front of
think I
this
saw.
crowd on the football field, when we were around, in your words, the
Yeah.
pitch, I told these folks that if you don't run well, you have no business trying to run faster.
Yeah.
And
I got to tell you.
yeah,
When I did my first Hyrox, someone said to me, "You can't run." Right? They actually said to me, "Your running is awful," and I was so upset. And I looked at my run time, and it was my run time on my first Hyrox was 51:02. What? My first run time was 51:02. 51:02. What was I doing out there? Was I walking? 51:02. So now we are 11 later, and I'm 39:34. 39:34. So we've got an improvement of 11:28 in 2 years.
that's a lot.
2 years. Now, I'm 53, right? 53. So that was a 51 to 53 benefit of 11 plus, just short, 12 minutes speed. So, and this is where you came into play, because when someone said to me, if you want to come back and do this again and you want to get faster, you need to learn how to run. But I thought I could run, but I could run. I was doing intervals and I was running distance. I'd already spent 2 seasons in Spartan. I could run a half marathon. I was doing the distances integrated with. Anyway, this is when I came to you because I thought I need to learn how to run, not just run. I need to learn how to run. And that was the start of the journey of running better, was when I found you. Because there's a lot of running coaches out there. So many of them, whether they're in Germany, whether they're in England, but you were different. You stood out. You were looking at the mechanics of an individual's body, what their body's doing, how it's working in a more individual manner to be able to achieve the benefits to improve on my race. And that's how I've got better.
Great. Well, again,
So
it's funny that we're having this discussion, quite frankly, because I had this conversation with my wife last night during dinner, and incidentally, we were celebrating 24 years of marriage, so we went out to dinner, and I was sharing with her the frustration I had with. This is going to probably slay you when I tell you this, but being identified as the running coach, right? So many people
Yeah,
associate with me being the running coach or the running guy, running this, running that, running this.
yeah,
And I just don't like being, boxed in, and assumption being that that's what I am. That's what I do. And I
yeah. You're on
as we
another
speak,
level. You're
yeah, yeah. Well,
you're
as
on
we
another
speak,
level.
I'm in the middle of rewriting or coming out with it's going to be called Dark Horse 2.0, which is
Yeah,
building on the thing I had recently wrote. But it's going to be massive. It's going to be all encompassing. All the things that I've learned, all the things that I've done over the past so many years, it's all going to get tossed into there. If someone picks that Bible up and puts
yeah.
energy into it, there's not going to be a hole in the program. Anything that they're going to look for, they're going to find it there. Because, but
Yeah.
anyway, um, and
Tell
so
me, what's your thoughts on the? I'm a big treadmill runner.
okay,
I run a lot outside as well. I do both, and I do both because it's all about the strategy as well, and saving the energy on the joints, and it's all a focus on the body engine, not just getting the miles in. And I know you've just released your book on the treadmill. What's your thoughts on the treadmill, the whole treadmill running? Because I see a lot of comments flying around about treadmills can be a bit of a little benefit.
well, so there's a couple things, and I've been asked this question a lot, incidentally. And a lot of times people will ask me, why are you always with the treadmill? Because they always see me associated with the treadmill. Well, this is my laboratory. I'm using it as an opportunity to have a clean observation of what's occurring while someone's running. And a lot of people will tell me that they believe that they run differently outside than they do on the treadmill. And
Yeah,
I push back on that. I tell them, no, you don't. Because the way you take flight and arrive back on the ground is something that you've developed and it's ingrained. The distinction between the two efforts is the treadmill is what's referred to as rate independent. The belt moves regardless of what you do. You're just keeping up with the belt. However, the way you approach the belt is similar to the way you approach the ground. Outside, it's rate dependent. You're not going anywhere unless you move your body through space. So essentially, you make contact with the earth and you drive yourself forward. Where on the belt,
yeah,
that belt's moving. You're just basically, like a hamster on the
cycling
wheel.
through.
You're keeping up with
Yeah.
it. Now, the other thing that I have to share, and I know this gives a lot of people a sore ass, is these motorless treadmills are the devil. They teach you to
Do you
run
not like
poorly.
them? Do you not like them? Do you not
They
like them? I
teach
actually
you
feel the
to
game.
run poorly.
No.
In
Yeah,
order
yeah, yeah.
in order to mechanize that belt, you have to overstride, reach ahead, and purchase the belt, and pull it
Yeah.
beneath you. And I tell people, when people come to see me, I tell people that your focus should be to push your body through space, not to pull your body through space. Pulling loads primarily the posterior chain. And you don't want to overload your posterior chain. You want to share that load equally among the quadriceps, hamstring, calves, and what have you. And
So
in order
do
to
you not
do,
feel that that's beneficial? Do you not feel that that is beneficial for certain styles then of racing or running development?
there are no, in my opinion, again, this is just me talking.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's styles of running. There is a way to run, and there are several ways that you should never run. And so the contact point and physics all come together. And if you do it correctly, you're going to cover more ground relative to each step you take. And as you practice it, it comes less expensive to do it. So the things that I harp on with people, and I've been sharing this with people lately, I refer to it as the three E's. When you approach your training, the first thing you want to concern yourself with is that you're being effective. You're not doing things that are not going to pay the rent. And so a good analogy of this was, for me, doing bicep curls or tricep extensions. These single lever movements have nothing to do with functionality, the way you're moving through space, right? It's just time wasted and energy burned. From a standpoint of performance, if you're a show pony, if you're in a bodybuilding competition, I get it. You're looking for symmetry. I get that. That's an aesthetic appeal. That has nothing to do with functionality. So the next thing that I ask of people is, after you're being effective, be efficient. So we've got all the waste out of the way, and now we're going to start worrying about being efficient. And efficient comes down to making sure your ground contact is precise. Every step you take is where it needs to be. How your foot makes purchase with the ground is the way it should land. And all the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. I tell people, stick the landing. You stick the landing, everything takes care of itself. So then it becomes a function of force production. And when you get better at motoring through the road or treadmill or whatever it is you're doing, you're going to start noticing that it becomes economical. That's the third E. So you start lowering the cost of work, where it used to be your heart rate, which represents cost. Let's say your heart rate at 150 beats per minute would give you, I'm in the States, so you got to bear with me. Let's just say you're running a 6-minute mile at 150 beats per minute. And then all of a sudden, with training, you start noticing the same heart rate is a yield of a 5:30 pace. You're not spending more, but you're achieving more. And you're not doing anything differently. You're just more economical in the way you're approaching the work. So now you're lowering the cost of work, and you're actually, with time, you're gaining speed at the lesser, because I've seen costs come down and speed go up. And apparently, looking at somebody, you couldn't even tell that they were doing anything different. So this is what I look for when I'm trying to develop an athlete. How can we make this efficiency come to light? And it's frustrating. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy. It's something you have to focus a tremendous amount of attention on in the beginning stages, and then it just becomes natural. You've taught yourself to do what you do. You could teach yourself to do something different. And a lot of people, especially as we get older, they assume, well, I've been doing it this way for 40 years, blah, blah, blah. They assume they can't learn it, and that's not true. It's not true. So anyway, my rant of the day. And so the other thing, since you asked me, where is it at? Let's grab it. Let's see if I can do this.
So what about VO2 max training? I was watching Huberman today. Huberman, is that his name? Huberman. He was talking about the sugarcane VO2 max. You should be doing it once a week. So to improve your VO2 max, this particular style, you run for 2 minutes as fast as you can, and then rest for 2 minutes. Check the speed that you did, and then you go into a different process, and then you do a third process. You do 3 different processes, and if you do that once a week, he's saying that you're going to improve your VO2 max.
Well,
is it that simple?
Intensity. It's look at it. Take a different analogy. Let's just say, if you want to be stronger, you have to lift heavier. So rather than doing like a 10 rep max, you get down to like a 3 rep max, and potentially even a 2 or a 1 rep max. That's where your strength is going to come from, not through repetition. All right. So I agree that high intensity, short duration work is going to develop the myocardium. That's the muscles that surround the heart. And so when the muscles around the heart are stronger, the ejection fraction, your cardiac output, commonly improves. So the engine, I hate the term engine because it's just a jargon. It's a thing that people have picked up on. But commonly your heart is essentially the pump. It's what directs.
Okay, so if you did this VO2 training, and you did the VO2, that training mechanism once a week for 10 weeks, what's the gain? What's the percentage gain on
Well,
pace? What's gaining?
remember me talking about early on? I said being effective.
Yeah.
What would be the gain? That's a really good question. So, if you have an improvement in your VO2 max, let's just say that and you know that this is what I do. I've been doing VO2 max testing on athletes for
Yeah,
30
yeah,
years.
exactly.
Um, I've seen athletes that have lesser VO2 scores and outperform guys with much greater VO2 scores. So, I don't put a lot of stock in VO2 max. I look at this middle road. Where are you in the middle of this? How much performance can you eke out relative to your capacities? You know, and obviously, excuse me, Hunter is the world champion. I've tested Hunter 7 times, at least. And through the stages of his career, based on what he was trying to achieve and the way we developed his body, had much to do with the way his body adapted. So VO2 score went up, VO2 score went down. Right now, his VO2 score is not what it was back in the day when we were doing endurance type training. But
That's
he's got a
interesting.
tremendous capacity to process lactate, which has been very effective for him. He was frustrated to see the number not be quite what it was, but still it's a number that's well enough. But his
But
efficiency,
do we think because he's been running since he was a child? Okay, he's been running since he was a child. So we've got this whole batch of runners out there in the Hyrox field who are runners. They've been running for years. I've come along and I started running when I was 49, 48. That's it. Just running. Didn't even know what my performance was like. So you've got these people coming along and they've got this history of a body that's taught itself, that's learned over many, many years how to clean itself out. It sees the miles and it can deal with it. So Hunter's coming in strong, like lots of the other runners, lots of the other top 15, because historically a lot of them have already developed a strong engine. They're just fine tuning now, looking for those extra seconds. And yeah, I just think, is there a difference between trying to develop an existing, is he that strong because he's been doing it for so many years? Is he that fast? Has he honed in because he's been honed in for years? Can his body clear lactate because it knows how to do it because it's been doing it since it was a baby?
no. I guess the short answer is no.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the development, some of it is kismet. It occurred maybe in some cases despite what his intentions were. And some of it was education. I could tell you we're good friends and I've worked with him for years. I talk to him all the time. And I know him as an athlete, and I know where he's been and what he's planning to do, what he's done. And so I'm the guy behind the scenes that's looking at things and saying, well, look at that. Because he did this, look what happened. And because he did
Yeah.
that, look what we're doing now. And then obviously trying to point him in the right direction, which is difficult. But and without getting into a big physiology lesson here, I can assure you that there is some metabolic development that occurs relative to the type of training he's doing. And so when I said
Yeah.
indiscriminate, what I'm saying is he probably didn't realize that that was going to be the outcome. I identified the outcome relative to what he was doing. And so I
Yeah.
see it after the fact. Now, his running skill, when I met him, he was a fairly decent runner. We turned him into a much better runner. And he's taken a lot of what he's learned from me and has built on it. And he's one of those guys that said, look, dude, you should be the running coach, period. He goes, you're the number one coach in the world, probably, and people don't know it. He said, he wants me to do a podcast that's called You Can't Win If You Run Like Shit. He said, it's going to be a home run, I swear to God. But so it's development, it's learning, and he's a good study. The guy spends a lot of time trying to hone his craft. I'm not just talking about going into the gym and training. He studies. He seeks out people that have
Yeah,
knowledge that he doesn't have.
he's a researcher. He's a researcher, and he's surrounding himself with people that will benefit his race. He's smart. He's smart, and different to the guys that he's racing with. He's got no kids. He's got no exterior elements that will drain his energy systems, other than his lifestyle. And how will that, in comparison to the guys that he's going to line up with? Because the majority of family and kids, and can be kept up all night the night before a race, 2 nights, so many different responsibilities. So he's got a great life that literally he is just an athlete. He turns up and he's an athlete.
Yeah. Well,
But
clearly that has much to do with it. So getting back to the Huberman thing about the
yeah,
VO2 thing, you have to realize, and I, by the way, I listen to him and Andy Galpin. Those guys, they have some great conversations, and I respect Galpin. I think he's tremendous. Um, but again, it's how do we develop our VO2 max? Well, that might be something that is quizzical for people, so they're going to listen to this video so that they can figure that out, right? But mind you, I have in training that I provide for my clients, we visit intensity often. The whole concept of flow, we visit intensity. And so it's so that we can get that little bit of the puzzle added to the fray. But we're also doing aerobic conditioning. We're also doing anaerobic conditioning. And we're also doing VO2 max style work. And it could gel all in the same setting. So I'm just saying, let's not leave anything off the table. Let's not try to focus too much energy on something that isn't going to pay the bills. So the polar opposite of that, which is another thing that's been the bane of my existence these days, is all the conversation you hear about this zone 2 training. So now people are, oh, zone 2, spend 90% of your life on zone 2.
yeah. Do you know what? I'm done with zone 2. I'm actually done with it. I think it's overrated. I think it's too long on your feet. It's a waste of energy that can be filtered into something that's actually going to benefit you. So these fortnightly, extremely long, maybe 2 hour, 2.5 engine building, it's not necessary. A 90-minute in a zone 3 is far better
Well,
than a 2.5 hour.
let me slow you down for a minute. First of all, you have one energy system. You don't have this one and then this one over here. There's one energy system. And so there's all these triggers that you can pull on throughout this energy system to cause everything to be acute. So now it all is lit up and ready to go. So in a typical flow session that I prescribe for my athletes, we're in zone 2 for a bit. We may revisit it in a bit. We might going to go into, and I don't even like zones. The zone thing just drives me crazy. I'm looking at levels of intensity, how much we're approaching what is tenable, what is not. Are we getting into the lactate a little too hard too often? Are we not visiting it often enough? Are we touching the top end of the energy system? And I could tell you that having a complete approach to your energy system provides for you. So an example being, going back to your statement about the gun going off and all this anxiety and trying to calm yourself and whatever, I don't want to have to respond to somebody that's controlling me. And I'm saying me, I'm talking about my athlete. So you know who you're racing, and I don't care who you are, you know these people, and these are the people you don't want to beat you. And you're gonna be prepared for them. So let's just say that so and so and so and so takes off out of the gate, and you're thinking, oh shit, I can't let them get away from me. They are now controlling you, right? So now you're hoping that your engine is going to provide for you so that you're adequately capable of staying in the fray, staying in the hunt, right? They've controlled you. I want to be able to have an athlete go out of the gate however they feel like they should. I know these guys. I know they're going to go out hot. I'm going to break them early, make them come outside of their game, let them chase me for a little bit, cause them to fail maybe the first exercise, and then for the rest of the race, they're trying to catch up. But I've trained myself to be able to recover quickly after that type of an assault and get back into the game as necessary. So not only being able to have the staying power, to have a good pace throughout the course of the race, but have the ability to pull whatever trigger is necessary based on what's occurring at the moment. And this is the way I think. I think the strategy I have is do not leave these things off the table. You see somebody that's doing a 500-pound deadlift, and you think, well, if I don't deadlift 500 pounds, then You know, no, maybe that's not the number. Maybe that's not the exercise that you need to be focused on. Maybe that person has tremendous hamstring and back strength, but they have terrible aerobic capacity or terrible running mechanics. You know, it's an
So
entire.
what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts then on, your race is going to be your heart rate's going to be high the whole race. You need to be able to have something in the engine to put your foot down if you need to. Someone you're racing against is picking up pace faster than you thought. So therefore, your training strategy has to be one where you're showing your body high zones a lot, often, getting comfortable with pushing, getting comfortable with almost that red line. You're out there, but you're comfortable with the feeling. So I mean that
Well,
doesn't come
don't.
with zone
So
two.
I've just answered your question a minute ago. I'll do it again in a different way. Do not segregate your training intensities. Don't have like day one that you're going to go and do some aerobics, easy pace conditioning. Day two is going to be the track workout. Day three is going to, you don't segregate the intensities. Introduce them into your training. Apply them in percentages that are necessary and progressive relative to what you're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish.
yeah, yeah. See, that's actually really good advice, because when you come out of you do your run, your body physiology or your heart rate's changing. It's changing for the next demand, which is completely different to a run. Then when you finish that workout, you need to be able to put the foot down and go again. So you need to be able to
Well,
control
so
your
now,
breathing,
yeah.
respiratory.
So the other consideration that we haven't discussed, and if you've been paying attention to me in the last 6 months, you've probably seen, who's this? Let me bring this up so find out who this is. Hold on. Oops. Okay. Okay, cool. Like it. What else
I
is he
can't
saying?
see that. What does it say?
He's
I'm as
saying,
blind as you are.
this is OG Master 8. He says, hi, Richard. With regards to running form, I've implemented many of the points you've covered in your teaching materials, i.e., cadence with metronome, running without error. And then said, there's another comment here. Let's see what this says. What are some good drills or other points to follow after this first phase of learning? So, um, if we're going to cause this to be in phases. You're right. Yeah, you're point on by making sure that you're getting it done correctly. Then your focus should be identifying the ability to create the force off the ground as efficiently as possible. So I think I'm being confusing, and I don't want to be. I have a client comes to see me, and she's perplexed. She said, I don't understand how you could be static at the same frequency and then cause your body to go faster. So at 180 steps per minute, I can run X speed. But in order for me to go to Y speed, how can I do that without turning my legs over quicker? It's a good question. And I said, you can do it. She says, how? You can't possibly do it. So here I am on my bike next to her, metronome and a speaker on my bike, monitoring her heart rate, monitoring her pace, getting her to 180 steps per minute without fail. She's doing a good job. And I said, now we're going to start to escalate the pace. So just, get a little bit more lean into your posture and just watch how it unfolds. I'm directing the pace. She's now running a minute per hour faster than she was a moment ago. Nothing has changed. If I showed you my Training Peaks account with some of the athletes I work with, and in a flow effort, so a flow effort is you're undulating. You start out at a lower intensity. Say the heart rate's 150. Let's say your threshold's 170. You're at 150, and now you're running along for, I don't know, let's just say 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden, you make a move to increase your pace, dip into that lactate a little bit. The cadence is a steady line the whole way. Your heart rate went up, your
Yeah,
pace went up, your cadence didn't change. So you're
yeah,
fluctuating in and out of speed with no deviation in your cadence. So you're clearly running faster. and you're clearly recovered, but you've not changed the frequency in which you're touching the ground. So it, in fact, will allow you to. So this is if there's going to be another phase, focus on trying to create more speed without making any changes to the way you're approaching the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've started doing flow anyway. My 400s or my 800s, I don't stop anymore. I don't really get off the treadmill. I don't get off. I'm watching my heart rate, and I will not. Basically, I just slow down, flow, back on again. Just never stop.
Well,
I've seen better
again,
improvements personally.
it's okay. So he's thanking us for the comment. It's perplexing for a lot of people, and to be very honest with you, I don't know that I portrayed it as effectively as I could have in the first iteration of the book that I wrote. The second one is going to be a lot easier to understand. I apologize. Because you know what's funny? It's like, I think about this, right? I know how I think, and I know what makes sense to me. And in my world, in my mind, it makes perfect sense. Not living in there, right, with me. So like, dude, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So sometimes it needs a little bit more explaining. Anyway, so the other thing, sorry, I think I had COVID. And
no, don't say that.
I don't think I have it now. I think I went to Europe, and I think I got sick, and I never went to the doctor to find out what it was. I got better.
Yeah.
But this lingering cough's been with me for the last 2 months, and I apologize for the coughing all the time.
I've got to tell you, I think so many people have got that. They call it the 100-day cough. The 100-day cough over here.
Yeah, I'm working on 100 days right now. Anyway, so I got all over the map here, and I had a point to make, and I lost. Oh, I know what I was going to do. Let's see if I can bring it up. Boom. Nope, that's not it. Let's go. Where is he? Is this it? Boom.
I was going to say that after. Oh, who's that? Who's that?
So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, let's analyze this for a minute, okay? This woman is approaching the ground, heel first, completely dorsiflexed. Her toes of her leading leg are pointing towards her knee. Her limb from her calcaneus, her heel, to her hip is a straight line. Appreciate that she's basically launched herself in the air and came, boom, back onto the ground here. So there's this moment of collision that she's going to have to overcome. And if you just look at her posture for a minute, look how her shoulders are shrugged. This is
tight. She's too tight.
Well, she's preparing for the impact. It's like when you're going to land hard, you hunch up.
Yeah.
And so the solution people have these days is to find a shoe with a bigger heel. Excuse me. And they think, well, that's going to make my landing softer and the pain's going to go away. So here we have, and by the way, I went into Photoshop and purposely removed the logo off this shoe because I'm not trying to pick on anybody in particular.
Yeah.
There will be people looking at this going, I know that shoe, I have that shoe.
Yeah.
Do the research. I'm not talking about listening to what your manufacturer is telling you. Do scientific research. I have it, but I can't. It's very difficult for me to bring this up for you right now and share it with you. Not to mention it's long-winded information. You don't want to sit still for it. But I can tell you that I found evidence. If I get rid of this, sorry. Okay, let's get rid of that. Sorry. Evidence, scientific research evidence, where they compared, I'm not going to say a minimal shoe, they're saying a traditional shoe, something that not a high stack height shoe, relatively close to the earth, not necessarily zero drop, and compared ground reaction force and impact between the two shoes. And what's interesting is that at a slow rate of speed, the heavy cushion sole mitigates impact to some degree, almost equal to what occurs with a traditional shoe. So it's not like, whoa, this is so much better. It's about the same. They showed that when you increase the speed to 14.5 kilometers per hour, incidentally, which is a 9-minute mile, 9 miles per hour, the impact forces that are transient up into the body are significantly worse in the cushion shoe than it was the other shoe. So there's actually more impact going into the body with the cushion shoe than there was with the other shoe when you drop the hammer, so to speak, when you start to run faster. Not to mention, because all that cushion causes to generate lateral instability. So your foot's all over the place as you make contact with the ground before you actually start to generate force off of the ground. The shoe will slow you down. There's all this conversation about these shoes that make you faster. They get Eliud Kipchoge to put on a shoe like this and run a sub 2-hour marathon. He could have done it barefoot.
Do you know, I 100% agree with you.
If you give this guy, you give this guy $5 million.
This guy's a runner. He's a runner. He's a world. So
he's an African runner.
That's marketing.
No, but you realize that that's what's happening to us. It's like we are facing this monstrous marketing machine.
Yeah.
Let's just take Nike for example. Nike, the money they pay individual athletes. What is it? The soccer player Ronaldo. He's got like a $1 billion a year contract for life, right? Just to wear their crap, right? So do you think for a minute they're not investing hard money into convincing people that the crap that they're putting out is? Did I just say I wasn't going to pick on a shoe manufacturer?
Yeah.
But you follow what I'm saying? And so they're like, oh my God, I got the new shoe.
Totally. And there's a lot of confusion when it comes to race day shoes for Hyrox. A lot of confusion. Not necessarily confusion, but a lot of people are looking to achieve a faster race. So everybody wants to know, what's the best shoe to run a Hyrox race in? Now, what they don't realize is that that's only going to buy you seconds. And to buy those extra seconds in that shoe, you've got to be a fast runner anyway. Because these shoes are made for fast runners anyway.
The shoe won't make you a faster runner.
No, totally.
Good running mechanics will make you a faster. If you run well, you'll run faster. And in almost any shoe you wear, you'll be faster.
Yeah.
And this is where
I've got so many different pairs of shoes, whether they be high stack, flat, or specific to this certain type of running training that I need them for.
Well, again, I mean, I could spend 5 hours on this. I won't. But if I was to just leave home with a few tips that I might share, fix your running mechanics. You won't need and you won't be benefited by any fangled shoe that was designed to control your motion. Shoes don't make you a better runner. Running well makes you a better runner. Now, these high cushion shoes do not make you faster. I can bring the evidence up for you. I'll send you copies of it. This is what I do all day.
I agree with you. I put my Nike Vaporflies on for my 4th Hyrox, and I rocked up to Hyrox in these Vaporflies, and I thought to myself, shit, I'm going to run so fast today. So fast, because I got Vaporflies on. And I looked, and actually they played out well on the sleds as well, but I looked at my stats when I finished and compared to my previous race. There was such little gain, if anything at all. I thought, okay, that's not good for me.
Well, can I tell you, your optimism probably had more to do with your outcome than the shoe did.
Yeah, totally.
If you picked up that magical shoe and in your mind you said, man, I'm going to tear this place up today, your mindset probably had more to do with your outcome. We call that the placebo effect. let's just share that with you right now.
Yeah. Can I tell you? I've been at a race, okay, and I wasn't going to race it. Literally 2 hours before, I wasn't going to go, and I'm part of a team called Team Atlas in London. They're an obstacle course racing team, and we're pretty much a family. And all we all want to do is just race. We just want to race because we just love the feeling of the finish line. We love the feeling of the energy. We love the feeling of all being together, doing something hard. And I wasn't going to race a race, and I turned up with the help of one of my team guys, Chris. You know, he had the belief that whatever mess I was in at that given moment, that I was going to run a big, fat, good, successful race. He gave me such confidence that the will took over. My will to achieve on that race made that the fastest race I'd ever run.
Listen, believe me,
Because
that
of my
has
will.
much to do with the entire picture. If you think you can, you probably can. If you think you can't, you probably can't. Right? There's much to do with that. But I mean, I'm not a psychologist, and so I don't talk about mindset all that much. I do know, I do. I mean, I'm an old man. I've been doing this for so long. I realize how much influence that has. But I'm a mechanic, right? I'm going to talk about mechanics, and I just know, and I have so much conviction from all the research and study I've done, is that. And by the way, I've traveled the country so far, not left the United States doing this, but traveled the country, 11 different states, multiple times, putting on clinics for groups of people I've never met. And I have people all over this country that came from being a shitty runner to running well. Some of them creating PRs that they never thought possible. And even, we're talking, I mean, there's a thing I refer to as the phenomenon of initial values. If you start with little, you have much to gain. So if you're a very slow, very inept runner, we make corrections, we're going to see massive improvements in your ability. If you're an elite runner, if I could shave off seconds, that's a big deal too, right? But there's no difference in between those two groups. The improvements will parlay into success. You just have to put the work together. We're lazy as a species these days. We're lazy. We don't want to cook anymore. We want food brought to us. We don't want to walk. We want to drive our cars. We don't, so it hand me a solution that's going to keep me from having to work, and boy, I'm in. That's the way people think these days. And the marketing these days just falls headlong into it and helps to promote that. You know what else really bugs me? And I'm going to quit this right now. Watching television and these weight loss commercials with extra protein to give you energy. Protein does not give you energy, right? They know this. You think they don't know this? They know this, but they're going to say it because it's a buzz. It's a buzzword. Protein is a much more fashionable ingredient than carbohydrate is, right? But it's just the fallacy that goes on and the things that we're facing day to day on the television. I saw that ad probably 100 times in a day. Well, maybe not that many times, but a lot. And, after a while, that starts to drill into your little head. And this is what happens with marketing. This is what happens with shoe design.
It's programming, customer marketing.
You got to find somebody. You got to have a coach. You got to have somebody that steps outside of you and observes you and has the ability to tell you the truth when you need to hear it. And the wherefore to guide you in the right path. Not somebody that's, the prettiest guy in the room or girl in the room with the most amount of muscles, but somebody with an intellect, somebody that has put in the time, did the research, got the education, has the stripes, experience, somebody that's legitimately a coach. And then
tell me, are you thinking of coming over here? Do you think you'll come over here and maybe run a
it's
one of your
it's funny you bring that up, is because I was told by many people that, look, there's a lot of people in Europe that really are interested in what you have to say. Hunter tells me this all the time. He goes, pack your bags. Let's go to Europe. Spend a couple months over there. He goes, you're going to be a rock star. Mm-hmm, I'm like, dude, I'm 71 years old. I don't know. I don't really want to go. I mean, but I'm also a capitalist, right? So if the right circumstances came together and enough people wanted to see me show up, I'm catching a flight. I will. Um,
Yeah, yeah. You could run a clinic. You could run a clinic, and
yeah.
I think
Well,
what's your maximum then? You've
I
got a
have I,
maximum.
I have clients in Zimbabwe, Africa,
Yeah,
and they've been trying to get me to come to Africa for years. And I'm just trying to do the math with them. I'm like, I just don't see how it's going to work. You know, I mean,
yeah,
if I go there, it's because I wanted to go there, not because it was such a good financial decision to make that trip. So,
yeah,
again,
yeah,
I try to be careful with my risk taking. If I had people that were like, look, man, we really want you to come out here. We've got this, and it all made sense. Boom, I'm gone. I'm leaving tomorrow. But long
yeah,
story
yeah.
short, so far that hasn't happened. So look, we could banter back and you. So you were so afraid this is going to be, oh man, what's we going to do? We've been on for 56 minutes and we haven't slowed down.
Okay, that's very good, very good.
It was easy, right? So let's have some
Yeah,
parting
much easier than I thought.
let's have some parting thoughts from you, and
Wow.
let's put a fork in this. So you said yourself, and I didn't want to go there, but you did it. 53-year-old athlete, working hard, better shape probably than you've been in your life. What do all these other 53-year-old women in the world want to hear from you? And I shouldn't exclude the men, because these guys getting older probably getting a little sloppy too. So what's your thought?
Okay, so my thoughts on a 53-year-old woman. I'm definitely not the fastest. I'm not the strongest. I'll never ever be with some of these amazing women that I have had the privilege to race with, race against. So now my race is really all about me and what I can do. It's me against me. But what I have to say is that to get a good body and create a good, strong engine at 53, to work well and to achieve crazy, batshit crazy stuff with a body that's 53, that's never seen it before, is possible if you have the right nutrition.
Oh, so
So if
you're leaning
you
on the
look after
nutrition.
yourself, nutrition is key. You're going to tell me if I eat pizza tonight or Chinese takeaway that tomorrow my treadmill is going to be good? Oh shit, no, it's going to be sitting in my stomach. It won't have even gone through that. So, I think that nutrition is key. Nutrition, discipline, understanding that healthy body, healthy mind, healthy body. Yeah, I think if we all realise what we've got and how to look after it, it will serve us better and serve us well.
Do you know? I don't know if you know this or not, but when I put on the clinics I put on, especially for Hyrox, I'll say especially for Hyrox simply because that's been the thing I've done lately. When someone comes to visit me, the first thing I do with them is I catch them at first in the morning, fasted, and I perform a resting metabolic assessment. I want to
Yeah,
identify if we do nothing to you that then let you lie there, how many calories would it require of you in a 24-hour period?
yeah, yeah,
Then I
yeah,
want to look at how efficiently the body is using the energy that it has. Are we
yeah,
in a catabolic state where we're munching the muscle to try to create sugar? Do we have a nice division of fat versus sugar utilization? And how many calories does it require? Then we do the VO2 test to see what the caloric expense is per hour, and then factor that into the time spent training in a given day, along with their daily activities, to arrive at how many calories they should be consuming on a daily basis. And then we start to ferret out the percentages of fat versus carbohydrate and protein in a given day. I don't preclude it by saying, oh, you have to be gluten free or some shit like that. It's just these are the
yeah,
carbs you need, these are the fat you need, these are the proteins you need. And then
yeah,
we start figuring out what part of the day we're going to consume them and how big the meals should look. And once you have that wired, your energy levels go through the roof, your cortisol levels drop, you sleep like a baby, and your performance
yeah,
goes through the roof. And so I've
yeah,
been doing that for, I can't even tell you how many years. And a lot of people come to me and they're very fit looking, and understandably so, but their metabolic structure is shit. They're they're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
by
yeah,
on a wing and a prayer and they don't even know it. And so we
yeah,
do that. So I guess I'm agreeing with you that nutrition is a very critical part of the puzzle.
Oh,
Um,
huge, huge. And actually, I would probably say at any age, you could get away for it for a little while you're younger, unless you're looking to podium. You've got to zone into it. It's all part of the package of racing. You can't wake up in the morning after abusing yourself and have high expectations. You can't drink a
I
bottle of
do it all
wine
the
and go, I'm
time.
going to go for a run. Do you know what? Let me tell you something else as well. I come from a family who is, my mum and dad are overweight. My dad's 18 stone, okay? Um, I come from a family who, all of them absolutely love and adore their food. Genetically, my genetic pathway by rights, I shouldn't have this mindset and I shouldn't have this journey. But I just also want to say as well that if you want to change your genetic pathway, you can. It just depends how much you want to change it. You know, because it's, yeah. I don't know. I think, but food is important. Food is important. Food is fuel. You don't want to put diesel in a petrol.
I thought you were going to tell me that you come from a long line of drinkers.
But I can't. No, can I tell you, my mum's had 5 stents. My dad's, and she's diabetic. My dad is a humongous man. He's huge. But let me tell you, if he's got to run fast, he'll run fast. And if he needs to find the power and the strength in his body, he can find it. He's an unbelievable man. He's 79. 79, and this guy, 18 stone, can still ride a bike with, hopefully he doesn't pop the tires, but it's quite a cumbersome bike. But yeah, the
What?
guy
So
the
you got
guy
to
is
share with me,
unbelievable.
what is 18 stones in pounds?
Oh my God, what? So we got 14 pounds. So 18 times 14. 18 times 14, whatever that is. That's
That
huge.
sounds like a lot.
Yeah, he's not. He's huge. A big man. But he's strong. Fast, if he needs to be.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I've enjoyed having this conversation with you. I
Yeah,
hope that I haven't offended anybody today.
I'm pretty sure you haven't.
And, I mean, I've been at this a long time, and I just don't throw things out willy nilly. If I tell you something, it's because I believe it. And if I believe it,
Yeah,
it's because I've put in the work to figure it out. And so you have a choice. You could decide that the old man might have something to say and benefit you, or maybe not.
yeah.
But it, life is
Yeah,
full of
listen,
choices.
no, you're in my life and you've benefited me. I'm running faster because of you and, a couple of other methods that I've been exposed to. And I got a metronome as well. I run with a metronome, tick, 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 attached to me. All this sort of crazy stuff. But it works.
Stay
The
away from
lessons
that.
work.
Stay away from that motorless treadmill.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That one.
No, the treadmill where you
The
gotta
TikTok.
you gotta push it to make it work.
Oh, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
They
quite liked it as
they
well.
probably
Okay.
have one in the gym you work out at, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know why I like to do it? Because it's hard. I like to do it because it's hard, and I like to do it because I know that it will make my running out on the road easier because that
No,
is
it
hard.
will not. What it will do is teach you to run poorly. It teaches
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it teaches you to I want you to look at that machine when somebody's on it and think of me, and you're going to go, oh, shit, he's right. Oh my god, he's right.
Yeah, yeah.
It I'm sorry. I would love for me not to be correct about this because I would love
Tell me,
nothing better than to
don't
have
be
a treadmill
positive.
that has no motor.
Okay. You know what? One day I'll get out to you. One day I'll get out to you, and have the whole proper assessment.
It's a life changing scenario. By the way, I have a client in the UK that has traveled to see me and will probably come
Really?
back. Yes,
That's
yes.
interesting. I wish I knew who they were.
He's a Hyrox
OCR?
athlete.
OCR?
Huh? No.
Huh?
No, his name is Kieran. Yeah. But anyway, long story, he's not been racing because he had some issues with his feet. When he came to see me, by the way, he had some plantar fasciitis issues. And He's been struggling
Yeah.
with
I
that.
must tell you just before you go, actually, I've been I haven't raced properly for a long time, for a good few months now, because I'm solely really focusing on my running, because I now understand the importance to create the running, and that's where the time is, that's where the power is, that's where the money is. So my first Hyrox is going to be in a few months. I won't be revisiting any venue I'll have running before. The aim is to go to a different location each time. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I've periodized my running, and I think it's really helped to
Good.
come away from the race, to break it down, and to focus in on the running.
Get a coach.
Yeah, you're busy.
You got to have somebody take responsibility of you. Find somebody you trust, somebody that's knowledgeable, and let them run the show. And
Yeah.
you're
You
just
know what? There's a good female coach here. Her and her husband. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. As coaches go, they're my go-to. Uh, Other than that, I think you're not here. But I've
listen.
learned so much
I
from you.
have clients. None of my clients are here with me. Okay, none of them are.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a client coming in a week or so from California. So he's got it's halfway across the country to get to me. I have a few
Yeah, yeah.
coming from Connecticut in March. Nobody lives near
Are
me.
you gonna do? Are you gonna run any of those courses? I did a course with you beginning of last year, where there was a group of us. Will you be doing anything like that again?
I don't know. To say no would be a mistake. I don't know. I really don't know. It
Okay.
just depends. I'm I don't know. I don't know. With
Okay.
me, there's you
Okay.
just never know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. All right. Well, look, we're going to shut this down.
Okay.
Thank you so much again for spending the time with me. And we said, we're going to keep it short. We're only going to go like 30, 40 minutes. We're an hour and 10 minutes down.
Okay, cool. Oh, it's so lovely to speak to you.
You
So
too.
lovely. Let me know if you're coming over.
I will. Take care.